This is Holden Albright, and you're listening to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast. I'm your host, Lewis Carlin, and we're part of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. And you can catch me on Twitter at PWSOTH. And today we have a very, very special guest. I wanted to get this guy on the show for quite some time, and I'm glad he's here today. He wrestles all over Ontario. You've seen him in Barrie Wrestling, Alpha One Wrestling, No Limits Wrestling, Smash Wrestling, and recently he made his Impact Wrestling debut at Bad Intentions. Please help me welcome Holden Albright. Holden, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me, Lewis. I'm very excited to be on with you today.
Well, I'm very excited to have you. Like I said, I want to talk to you for some time now. I know we tried a few months ago, but it didn't quite work out. But I'm glad you're able to come on the show now and talk for a bit. And yeah, very happy that you're here, my man. All right, cool.
Very excited to be here.
All right, man. I'm sorry, man. I was waiting for you to say something, but I'm sorry. It's my fault. I should have. I
literally saw a bird fly and got distracted. Oh. I'm very easily distracted.
Hey, man. Actually, I was on your Facebook page, and I noticed that you went on a mini spending spree. It looked like lately. You got a zombie Kane, a Jeff Hardy doll, and Austin 316 cup. What was going on there? You just saw the merchandise, you had to buy it?
Okay, so I was really tired after a couple shows this weekend with Smash and in Barrie on Saturday, and I hung out with a friend for lunch on Monday. I tired to a Toys R Us, saw those action figures, thought they were cool, and then I went to a Spencer's and saw the mug, and I'm a huge Stone Cold fan. Okay. I have a Stone Cold tribute tattoo on my leg.
Oh wow, yeah, no, I've been a wrestling fan for quite some time. As I mentioned before we got started, I remember Austin 316 when he first started with the WWE. So I huge Steve Austin. I remember Steve Austin before he was Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I'm a big Steve Austin fan. But I concur because I went to London Comic-Con with my daughter 2 weeks ago, and I'm in my 40s.
Oh no, how much money did you spend?
Well, I came home with a Cody and Kenny Omega Funko Pop doll. That was one of the things I came home with, and I had to sneak it into the house because I don't want my wife to see it. That a 40-year-old man buying a Cody and Kenny Omega doll, but I have
totally under.
I have them strategically placed on my table right now, so I'm looking at them right now, so they give me inspiration. So
That's the exact same reason that. That's the same reason that I pick the action figures I get is my favorites or my inspiration for, like, all the guys from All In, the Young Bucks, Cody, Omega, they are inspirations for what you can accomplish in pro wrestling.
Absolutely. I was looking, they didn't have the Young Bucks. I was wanted to do the trifecta and get Cody, Omega, and the Young Bucks Funko Pop. They didn't have the Young Bucks. So I'm going to the London Comic-Con, so hopefully I could pick it up there. Hopefully, spend more money there and come home with some more merchandise. So you're from Brampton, Ontario, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I used to work out there. Just real quick question: have you been to the Italian place out in Brampton on Chrysler Drive? That Italian place, the restaurant. That Italian.
No, I haven't. I live really close to Chrysler Drive, so you mentioning that just sparked it for me.
Okay.
But I live in Brampton, and I went to elementary school and high school here, but I always hung out in Mississauga or North York.
Okay.
don't know anything except Bramley City Center in Brampton, to be honest.
Okay. Well, if you ever get the chance, it's a great restaurant, that Italian place. I used to go there all the time when I was working out in Brampton. I was hoping we could share our love for their veal and chicken sandwiches, but
I'm actually half Italian.
Okay.
So I would probably go there and get yelled at by my nonna why I didn't go to her place instead.
Okay, well, we don't want to get you in trouble, man. We don't want to get you in trouble. So maybe we'll change the topic. We won't talk about the Italian place anymore.
I will secretly check that out on a date one day, though.
Okay.
I won't like your wife not seeing your Funko Pops. I will check that out without my Nonna finding out.
All right. Yeah, that sounds cool. It actually was on the Food Network. I don't know if you ever seen the show, You Gotta Eat Here, but they did a whole thing, with that restaurant on, the show You Gotta Eat Here. So it's a great place if you ever get a chance to sneak out and go there. But anyway, let's get to the wrestling, man. Let's get to the wrestling. I just want to start, for anyone who's not familiar with Holden Albright, why don't you tell us what Holden Albright is all about and what a fan can expect, when he or she is watching a Holden Albright match?
So Holden Albright is a professional wrestler and amateur criminal, which means I'm not afraid to kidnap someone, stalk a family, and hurt someone in the middle of a ring. So it's very barbaric and a little bit of occult and demon stuff going on.
Okay.
But yeah, you'll be in for definitely an experience when you see Holden Albright wrestle.
Okay, because I know on October 13th, and I was reading, you were out in Barry Wrestling, you had the first ever straitjacket match. Apparently, you put yourself in the jacket and you lost the match to Patient 705. Just fill us in, tell us about that match and why you decided to put yourself in the straitjacket, to lose the match, purposely.
So I actually, right before that match started, to what to expect with Holden Albright, I spat blood out of my mouth, and Barry Wrestling actually takes place in a church.
Uh-oh.
So that, Sean Gibson wasn't so excited about the blood he had to clean off the floor. But in that match, I thought I could beat Patient. It wasn't successful, so I handcuffed him, and he has a manager that is really annoying and really smelly. So I kind of beat the hell out of him. Gave him a fisherman buster, and then I realized, oh wait, there's this big monster over there that I just handcuffed, and I kind of can't put the jacket on him.
Okay.
So I left an impression, and I wanted the match to end and put the straitjacket on myself, because I'm not afraid of whips and chains and handcuffs in the bedroom or in wrestling.
Okay, well, there you go. So, is there going to be a rematch? No, I know there's a card November 10th. Is there going to be a rematch, or is that a one only match, or is there going to be another match with Patient 705 on November 10th? Or
the war is not over, and to be completely honest with you, I don't know if it will have a direct match at the next show, but I will be in Barry Wrestling for the foreseeable future, so if Patient wants to show his face or show his mask, I'll kick him in the face.
All right. Just make me a promise that you'll never kick me in the face, if that's is that cool, or if
I will never kick someone in the face if the bell didn't ring yet.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure if we're ever hanging out, there'll be no bells around us to ring. So I'll stay safe. So let's go back to the beginning. You're obviously young. You're how old are you? About 23, 24 now?
I'm 25. I'm turning 26 in like 5 weeks.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning then. So what made you decide to pursue professional wrestling? What was it about professional wrestling that made you want to pursue it as a career?
So I always loved pro wrestling as a kid, and when I was in like junior kindergarten, we were given these gingerbread looking things, and you put your potential career on it. I don't know if I have ADD or something, but on my gingerbread man, it had 2 microphones because I was going to be a rapper, a stand-up comedian, a policeman hat because I was going to be a police officer, a firefighter jacket because I was going to be a firefighter, and then knee pads and boots because I was going to be a pro wrestler.
Okay.
So I always knew I was going to do stuff, and I actually trained in pro wrestling for 2 weeks in Brampton at, I think it was called Ringmasters, and I was there for like 2 weeks in grade 7.
Okay.
And then I had some money free from a trip that people bailed on in February of 2014. I went, okay, I'm going to Squared Circle Training to start training to be a pro wrestler.
All right, so who are some of the guys that you had admired growing up? Did you watch WWE? Did you watch WCW growing up? Or who are some of the guys that you admired when you were growing up?
So I definitely, because the benefit of Ontario is it's definitely WWF country.
Okay.
So I was a big WWE guy. Stone Cold was my guy as a kid, but I was also like a big Boss Man, but like the SWAT era Boss Man. Like it's all Attitude era stuff.
Sure.
So New Age Outlaws was amazing. Boss Man. The Godfather, even though I did not know that he was a pimp when I was 6.
Okay.
And I just like the outlandish characters.
Yeah, no, I was a fan of The Godfather. I was also a fan, of course, The Rock. You know, The Rock was one of my favorites growing up. Well, going back, you know, I go back, you know, as early as, you know, Bruno Sammartino, Roddy Piper. So those are my guys. But Attitude Era, I was Stone Cold, The Rock. So you never watched WCW? You didn't watch it at all, or no interest? Or?
The only WCW memory I have is I'm such a huge wrestling fan, so I would watch shoot interviews, the A&E biographies, which because in like 97 when A&E's profiling the WWE, they were pushing Andre the Giant and didn't want to promote Hogan because he was in WCW. Sure. So the only real WCW memory I have growing up was there was a British Bulldog autograph signing. And there was a WCW show that night or the next night, I think it was maybe Nitro. And that's the only thing I heard of WCW besides seeing these weird action figures. I'm like, wait, I don't know who those guys are.
Okay, man. All right. So yeah, WWE guy. That's cool. Like I said, I was a big WWE fan. If when both were on, I always preferred, well, except when the NWO thing was going on, I kind of switched back and forth, but then Stone Cold and The Rock came along and I switched fully over to WWE. But nowadays, you know, I'm New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, you know, Ring of Honor. I gravitate towards those promotions. What do you think of wrestling today? I mean, what's going on? I mean, the indies are like on fire. You had All In. I mentioned Ring of Honor, Major League Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. It must be an exciting time to be a professional wrestler, especially with what's going on.
Pro wrestling, the landscape right now is so amazing. Like, I fell in love with Progress, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Around chapter 20. It was in the middle of Havoc having his title reign. And it was just like, oh my god, wait, this is good production value. This is good storytelling. These matches, I don't know who any of these people are. Like, I'm a big fan of wrestling as a sport right now. And of course you have like New Japan blowing up and everything. Whereas you mentioned MLW. That's a goal for me. I listened to all the MLW podcasts when they started up like 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
So working for Court Bauer is definitely like a priority for me.
Well, I started watching it. I'll admit I started watching it about 3 weeks ago, and I'm completely hooked on Major League Wrestling. They get some amazing talent there, and I think you would be a tremendous addition in home. I'm sure you're going to get there sooner or later. We'd love to see you there in Major League Wrestling. Now you mentioned that you were training. I'm sorry, I forgot the facility where you said that you trained at, but I'll ask you. So where did you train, and what was the initial training like, and who trained you? I know a lot of Canadian wrestlers I talk to. They always say the same name. Tyson Dukes trained me. So did Tyson Dukes train you, or if not, who else was your trainer, and how did you take to the training?
So my original trainer was Rob Fuego, actually, at Squared Circle Training. And he trained like Gail Kim, Angelina Love. He came up with Edge and Christian originally and like Joey Legend. And to be honest though, by the time I got there, I wasn't taking pro wrestling training serious enough. I was probably going 2 or 3 times a month. And then it was either whoever happened to be there that day that was leading class. And I remember the fraternity being there, Space Monkey being there before he was Space Monkey, and it's us like kind of whoever the most experienced person was running drills, and then Ashley Six actually took control of Wednesday classes, and that's when it took, instead of just fooling around, to okay guys, let's do A, B, C, D, let's get this good.
Okay, and after you're doing the training, how long did it take until you felt you were ready to have your first match, and how would you rank your debut match? So I'll let you answer that one.
So, Squared Circle actually closed down in August of 2014, so I was only there for like 6 months. And then I went to Kitchener to train with Ben Ortmans and Notorious TID, Chris Tidwell at Crossbody Pro Wrestling Academy, which they now run shows every month, and I'm a permanent fixture on that show until hopefully ever. And then going back to Ashley Six, he opened up a school with Chris Chambers in Toronto called Super Kicked, and that's where I had like my polishing off to get me ready, which led to November 2015. So I'm almost on my 3-year anniversary of my first real match. I actually had to go grab condiments for the hot dogs available at like the food stand at the venue. I come back and Mark Wheeler, who was 1 month into training at this point, tells me I have a match. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm in the Rumble later on. He's like, no, you're facing like a guy, Eric Easy. I'm like, Easy Eric Kearney? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, where's my gear? Tell him to meet me behind the entrance curtain. So I got dressed and we called our match in like 5 minutes. We went out there, it was a decent match for what it was. I don't look back on it with bad memories. I'm quite proud of myself, and that actually graduated me to where my trainers are like, okay, Holden, you're ready to go have real matches.
All right, and I'm thinking, I know I mentioned I was gonna ask some fan questions at the end, but you want a fan question now? I have 5 of them. You want me to throw one in now? You want to do a fan question? Or?
Yeah, throw it in as organically as you want.
Okay, sure. So let's do the first one. So RJ Krasinski, from the Revisionist Booking podcast, he wants to know, if you were able to form a faction of 4 people, who would you choose to be in your faction?
Is this like local guys or all time?
He didn't mention, but I'm gonna go ahead and say all time.
Okay, in all time, I would definitely throw Stone Cold in there. I'm not leading this faction. I'm definitely going to be the rookie who takes the pinfall when we have like Survivor Series matches. Okay. So, Stone Cold's definitely in that. I'd throw Andre in actually to just be like, I think it'd be interesting pairing up with Andre, and then, I think like Sami Callihan would just be crazy. So like me, Callahan, Austin, and Andre. This is the most wild 4-person faction ever.
That would be one hell of a faction.
And we all wear black, so we're already matching.
Are you all going to wear the wolf mask as well, or is just?
No. That's only me. That's only me. That's only me.
Okay. Andre, Stone Cold, Sami Callihan, who I'm a huge fan of. Actually, I got to meet him at the Border City Wrestling 25th anniversary show. Really cool guy. And Stone Cold Steve. That would be a great faction, man. I'm going to write that down. Actually, Andre's not with us anymore, so that faction can't. Anyway, but that's a cool faction, man. That's a cool faction. I'm sure RJ Krasinski will be happy to hear that. So how was the? Let's go back. You're in your first year of wrestling. What's the hardest thing you felt you had to overcome in your first year as a professional wrestler? Was it learning? Was it earning enough money? Or what was the hardest thing you had to overcome?
I actually tried to quit after my first year. Like December of the next year, I tried to quit wrestling because I just burnt myself out.
Okay.
So the hardest thing I had to overcome was like balancing my work, life, and wrestling schedule, because I listened to a lot of people telling me, you have to go to every show. Don't worry about sleeping. Just go, go, go. And it's what made my car basically like blow up, and it didn't actually catch on fire, but like it wouldn't start for like 4 hours if it drove somewhere. Okay. And then there was one weekend where I drank 21 energy drinks and slept 3 hours over the course of 3 days.
Okay.
And Tarek actually says, I used to look gray. Like there was no skin pigmentation anymore. I was just gray and like half asleep, and I was like kind of a crappy person to be around at that time period.
Okay. I'm sorry. So you drank 21 energy drinks, like one right after the other, or was it within a 24-hour period? Or
so I break it down to, I woke up at midnight on Friday to go to my real job, And then over the course of the next days until Monday at noon, it was 21 energy drinks, slept 3 hours not continuously, and ate four times in that time period.
That's a hell of a lot of B12 that you pumped into your body, man. I think each can has about 500, I don't know, milligram, whatever. It's just a lot of B12. That's way too much B12. You haven't done that since, right? That was just a one-time deal, hopefully.
Oh, God, no. Now I've turned over to black coffee, and it's not as frequently. And I think I almost had a heart attack that month.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I've learned. That's what I learned. Don't have so many energy drinks. I learned that in my first year.
Yeah. You shouldn't even drink wine. I mean, they're not really, I don't, it's just, yeah, I'm glad coffee is cool, but, just don't do that again. Promise everybody on the air right now that you're never going to drink 21 energy drinks ever again in your life. I want you to promise before we move on.
I promise I won't drink 21 energy drinks in one weekend. Okay. I have made that promise myself. I'm going to at least sleep once a day now. That's my plan.
Okay. All right. Cool, man. Cool. All right. So let's go to another fan question. This is Dave Harrison, from Twitter. He wants to know, do you have a pre-match performance, meal? And if so, what would that be?
Well, not really meals. I'm getting in better shape over the last few months. I cut out most carbs, so I try not to have bread. And pre-match meal, there are some people that can't eat during show day, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a bigger guy, but I try not to eat within like maybe a half an hour, kind of like swimming. That's my little thing, and I just try to eat cleaner now.
All right, that's cool. That's good. All right, good answer there. Now, Bad Intentions, I mentioned that a little earlier. You were at Impact's Bad Intentions. I was actually at the show, thought it was a terrific show. I think I commented on it, and I think I even sent you a message on Twitter saying that great show, and you responded, but I know you took on Stone Rockwell. I had Stone Rockwell on recently, and I asked him about the match, and not to get you upset, but he says that your teeth look like baked beans. So I don't know if you want to respond to that, if you want to respond to Stone Rockwell, but I'll leave that up to you.
Well, I'll respond with, if you rewatch that show, available on the GWN app, Stone Rockwell referred to me as, I think he called me a cub. Where legitimately we had a conversation earlier in the day, what is the baby version of a wolf? We came to the conclusion it's like a dog. It's a pup.
Okay.
He called me a cub. I will not trust the opinion of anyone that was told the direct terminology and the correct terminology for something. His opinion on anything.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, it's definitely a pup. I don't think it's a cub. A cub is a baby bear, if I'm not... I think even a baby seal is a cub as well, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think even a lion.
Yeah, even a lion cub, but not a wolf cub. It's a pup.
No, not a wolf.
It's a pup. No, I think Stone Rockwell was incorrect there. I think it's definitely. Do you want me to look it up, or is it a? No,
we already looked it up that day beforehand, and we found pup. It is correct that it is pup and not cub.
Oh, so you guys looked it up together, but he still got it wrong. Oh, okay. Way to go, Stone Rockwell. But that was a really good match.
Yeah, that brain is full with stones.
There you go. Yeah, that sounds like there's going to be a grudge match now. Hope maybe I could Bad Intentions too. Stone Rockwell against Holden Albright one more time, grudge match. But how did it feel, making your Impact Wrestling debut? I mean, it was a one night only event on the Global Wrestling Network. Like I said, I was there. The whole entire show was fantastic. But were there butterflies before you hit the ring? But how did it feel knowing that, hey, this is Impact Wrestling?
See, I just saw the show really as a Destiny wrestling show.
Okay.
And then I was even told by a couple people, they like the fact that I don't get nervous or anything before a match. Like, I'll get excited about stuff, but I don't really get nervous until I make my entrance or I'm standing in the ring, and then it clicks with me at that moment. So that's what screwed me up. But I was at the merch table right before doors opened, and I was looking at the ring apron, and the merch table was like 50 feet away.
Okay.
And I looked over to, I think it was Josh Alexander, and I was like, oh, F. And he's like, what? I'm like, it just sunk in that, like, that banner says Impact Wrestling. That TV monitor over there says Impact Wrestling. Oh, how did I get here? I posted on my Instagram that Impact Wrestling was never a goal for me because I didn't think I could achieve it.
Okay. But you did.
And then that's what screwed me up.
Well, you achieved it. You were there. You made it. You made your Impact Wrestling debut. Which was, have there been any talk? Did anybody talk to you about the match? Would there be any more interest at the time, you think, with Impact Wrestling, or what do you think?
Don Callis really liked the mask.
Okay.
And he wanted me to wrestle in it, which I've been dabbling wrestling a little bit. But he also thought all my strikes were really stiff and that I messed up Stone Rockwell. To which, you see the way I hit. I'm hard enough, but it's pro wrestling.
Yeah, no, I think right at the opening bell, I think you came in hard. You hit him with a...
Oh, I went in hard the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a really, really good match. I was with my friend, and he was really impressed. He really liked the mask. And when did you start wearing the mask? When did you incorporate the mask into your persona?
So last year, I was doing tag stuff with Mark Wheeler, and we were doing Riot Makers, where our gimmick was we were basically like activist, terrorist kind of people. So anyone you would see making a riot, that's why our names were the Riot Makers. So we had like face masks, and then I wanted to change it up, and Halloween passed, and I got like this rabbit mask that I thought was cool, and then that broke, and I needed to find a new mask, and the only thing that I focused on a new mask was the mouth has to open, because I think that was really cool, and it makes the mask look 10 times more impressive. And then I found the wolf, and I have a wolf tattoo, and I'm like, oh wait, this works.
Okay. And I guess that's going to lead us into, I just realized I have a fan question that he has a question about the mask. I think you answered the first part. It's Charm City Sinner from Twitter. He's asking, why did you choose the white wolf mask, and would you ever switch to a different type of mask? That comes from the Charm City Sinner on Twitter. So would you ever choose a different type of mask, or I think you said you had a rabbit mask you were wearing, but would you switch now that you had the wolf mask? Would you choose another mask, or is it going to be the wolf from now on?
For right now, it is the wolf mask. I learned my lesson from the rabbit mask because I couldn't find a new one. So this one, I bought 3 different versions. I have one that I call my house show mask, which is a little beat up, and I wore it to Barry. So when I spat out the fake blood, it's kind of stained from that. And then I have one that I use for videos and for bigger shows. I call that my TV mask. And then I have one on just backup. But I'm pretty sure I'm dabbling with, if I ever have a big enough match, to have 2 people in like cloaks, kind of like druids, have the rabbit mask and a wolf mask on, and then I come in through the middle. But I don't know what mask I'll be wearing. I think it'll be very demonic, but I don't know what yet. But I am thinking of a big match feel mask.
Okay, well that's going to happen for you soon enough. So I look forward to that to see what mask you're going to be wearing. I'm just looking at the fan questions here. I got 2 more, but we'll get into them as we move along. Now you mentioned the Riot Makers, Mark Wheeler, and I'm looking up. And is the Riot Makers now you and Stratosphere, or are you still with Mark Wheeler?
Mark Wheeler and Jody Thread are not a part of it at all anymore.
Okay.
I did a couple things in A1 with Stratos, but the thing about tag teaming is scheduling is impossible, especially when people are booked a bunch of different places and we're just too busy. So I think going forward, there's nothing on the schedule for the Riot Makers. But if MLW wants to bring in the Riot Makers, I'm sure Jody, Mark, and Stratos won't have a problem redonning the camo pants, maybe in a different way, though.
How did that all begin? I think you might have mentioned it a little earlier, but how did it all begin with the Riot Makers? How did you guys come together?
So right around the time that I was getting burnt out, I was thrown together in a tag match with someone else. But then they fell through, and I was asked, hey, do you know anyone that can fill in? I said, yeah, there's a new guy, Mark, we can team together. We tagged one time in November 2 years ago. Super fun match. We lost to the Dirty Vets, and then we just teamed a few more times, and then we had like a sit down conversation with Ben Ortmans, and the third time we teamed together, we had skull mask on, camo pants, and a whole new attitude. It kept going. We incorporated Stratosphere into it, and then we incorporated Jody Threat, and then we took over Crossbody. If you actually go to Crossbody Pro Wrestling's YouTube account, you can pretty much track the growth of the Riot Makers from there.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'll definitely check that out, man. So do you prefer singles or being in a tag team? Singles wrestling or tag team wrestling, or do you like like them both the same?
There was a local show a couple weeks ago who brought in the Spirit Squad, and I was driving with them, and we were talking about tag wrestling's fun because you get to hang out with your buddy, and especially if the match isn't good, you can kind of go in the back and commiserate with your fellow person who was at war with you. And you're like, yeah, okay, so that happened. But I really like the single stuff I'm doing right now because I don't have to rely on anyone to do promos and stuff. I could just, right now it's, sorry to break any fourth wall, it's like 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday. It's dark outside. I can just go cut a promo for something if I want to film something creepy and post that immediately. I don't have to schedule anything with any tag partners. So that's what I really like about my single stuff I'm doing now.
Okay, yeah, I was watching, I'm pretty sure it's your YouTube page, GTA Wire. Is that correct? Are you still doing that, or is that from the past?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I try to do podcasts with friends years ago, okay. And I am a group person, which you brought up the Riot Makers. I think that's why it was successful. We all were like-minded. We wanted to be the best pro wrestlers we could be, whereas I wanted to do stuff in entertainment, so I wanted to do podcasts, which I just started doing one that's more of a solo podcast.
Okay.
But no one ever felt the way I felt about it, so it felt like I was doing 99% of the work, and when you're just killing yourself, you're like, nah, this isn't worth it.
Okay. I brought that up because I was watching some of the videos. There's a really cool video in there where you attack Lionel Knight, in front of somebody's house. So that was.
Oh yeah, that was in front of Lionel's house.
Oh, that was in front of his house, and Lionel's house. Was anybody watch? Did everybody know that's he's not really getting attacked? Because that looked a little creepy. You're wearing the mask, you attacked him, and you took the mask off and cut the promo. And nobody called 911 or anything. I would have been freaked out if I saw that happen in front of somebody's house.
I don't know how I get away with so much stuff I do. Every time I leave my house before I go to a show, and I'm putting like my gear bag and my merch bag in my trunk, and I got these creepy wolf masks on, and I look weird myself. I don't understand why no one in my neighborhood is worried about their children. I ask myself these questions every day. I'm not even kidding. I look at my neighbors, I'm like, why aren't you scared of me?
So you walk around the neighborhood with the wolf mask on? Is that
There is one promo that I did earlier this year that I was trying to work on a short film for the character, and I was walking around with that rabbit mask on, and one of the outtakes is I had the camera across the street so I could film, and I kind of had to walk over to someone and be like, hey, how's it going? And that's just like on the blooper reel for my own. Whereas this guy it's 1:00 on like a Tuesday in the not in the morning, in the afternoon. He's like, what is this weird dude doing?
Is that available on YouTube, or are those?
Yeah, that should be. If you look up Holden Albright, that should be on my personal YouTube channel.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out, man. So who have been some of your favorite opponents? I was on Cage Match, and running through some of the matches. I see you've had a match with Tyson Dukes, various other matches. So who have been some of your favorite opponents?
Someone actually recently asked this to me about like my top 5 matches, and I've been lucky enough to face Josh Alexander, who I see as a mentor, a bunch of times this year.
Okay.
I wrestled him in the second round of a tournament in January where I messed up a moonsault and almost landed on my head.
Okay.
I wrestled him in a couple tag matches, and then I got the opportunity in August to face him at Crossbody for the championship. and it was the longest match I've had singles wise. It tested me, and I felt like that was my I'm not a horrible wrestler.
Okay.
And then with Tyson, I've only wrestled him one time, I'm pretty sure, and it was right before the Josh match. And that was another match that just felt so good. And I think that's personally my best match, bell to bell. Recently at Crossbody, I lost the championship to Josh in a 3-way that involved Jody Threat. Okay. Jody Threat is amazing. She's a really close friend of mine.
Okay.
And if you ask her to do anything, she'll do it, and she'll do it 110%.
I think she's I'm going to the USA card, Smash Wrestling. I think she's on that card at the London Comic-Con, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, no, yeah, that's would it be cool if I went up to her and tell her that I know you, and would she be cool with that, or?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. So you're not going to be at the show by chance at the London Comic-Con, would you?
To be completely honest, I don't know. I don't think I have any shows that day, and I call myself the cockroach of Ontario indie wrestling. I just show up anywhere. Okay. Most people don't know I live in Brampton. That's how many random shows I go to.
Okay, and well, if you do show up there, man, send me a quick message. I'll be there all day on the Saturday. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to meet you. But I'll definitely I'll talk to Jody when I get out there. Hopefully, maybe I could get her on the podcast as well. I'll see if I can do that. So, what's the ultimate goal? What's your ultimate goal in professional wrestling? A lot of people want to get to the WWE. I know when I spoke with Josh Alexander, his goal was to get to New Japan. So, what's the ultimate goal for you?
I heard someone say at a seminar once that no matter what your end goal is for wrestling, you're investing in yourself by doing these seminars. If you want to just do it once a weekend, once a month, a few times a year, or you want to go to the WWE, you invested in yourself because you cared enough. My goal, once again, my goal was in Impact Wrestling because I didn't think it was realistic. But my goal right now is just to be the best pro wrestler I can be, and I feel like if I focus on just that, opportunities will present itself that I'm ready for and that I can accept, much like the Impact thing that came up. But for my comparison of New Japan or WWE would be, I wanted to wrestle in 3 countries when I first started wrestling. One was England, which is booming right now, and then weirdly enough, it was Germany and Australia. Because I heard about the old tours in Germany, and then I just want to visit Australia, and pro wrestling is everywhere. So I was like, I wonder what Australian pro wrestling is like. And now that's booming too because of like Will Ospreay and others.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned all those countries. Do you have any dream opponents that you would like to face? I know like you said, you mentioned a lot of countries, a lot of talent, but who are some of your dream opponents that you would like to face? A lot of guys say Kenny Omega, but who would you like to face in professional wrestling?
I'm just gonna rattle off a bunch of names because I've actually thought about this recently. It's definitely Tomohiro Ishii.
Okay.
Jimmy Havoc, Sami Callihan, Michael Elgin and Eddie Kingston. Those are on the top of my list right now because I got compared to Elgin a lot when I first started training. I was even called Belgin, which was Baby Elgin, because he was fat when he started and now he's like a powerhouse. But Eddie Kingston works for A1 a lot. Michael Elgin is from this area. I do believe I can get those matches within, say, a year. So those are my immediate goals, but definitely Havoc, Callahan, Ishii, anyone that will like go to war. And I kind of want to do Tournament of Death for CZW just for the experience. I just do it one time. Okay.
Now, you mentioned Tomohiro Ishii. That guy hits hard. I had Toa Inari was on the show. We were talking about how hard Ishii hits. He said that he was hurting for about 2 weeks after the Ishii match. Do you think you could take an elbow to the face from Tomohiro Ishii?
Oh, 110%. Like, I could take it. Will I be able to, like, eat solid food for the next week? Most likely not. No, but I can take it.
Okay. Well, hopefully that match happens for you soon, and when the match does happen, I'll say a small prayer before the match starts for you.
Just for my job.
Yeah. So we got 2 more fan questions, and then I'll let you do a couple plugs, and then we'll wrap this up. This guy tells me his name is Charlie. He wants to know what have been some of the favorite promotions that you've worked for. Some of your favorite promotions.
Any promotion that's brought me in is my quote-unquote favorite promotion for obvious reasons, but for the most part, there aren't enough crappy promotions I deal with. So, and you listed off Smash, A1, I've done some stuff at C4. Crossbody's treated me well over the years. Barry Wrestling is such a fun, family-friendly environment that, like, I can't pick my favorite promotions because it's just, I like most of the people who either help set up the ring or in the locker room with me, so.
All right, and the last question comes from the one and only, the walking weapon, Josh Alexander.
Oh, God. I'm scared.
The one and only Josh Alexander. He wanted me to ask you, what did you learn from the matches that you had with him in Kitchener? He's curious.
So, breaking all fourth wall, he had 2 matches the day that we had our first match in August, and he faced Tarek in Barrie, and I drove us to Kitchener. We got there way earlier than we thought, but he asked me, what is the story of our match? And everyone always says the psychology of wrestling is, what's the story of the match? And people are like, oh, it's working the knee, or it's this or that. And the story of our match was, I'm a newer guy I'm the only one that won the crossbody championship that hadn't been wrestling for 10 years. So I needed to prove that I'm not a scrub pretty much. And that match, Crossbody uploaded it for a week. If you private message me, I will send you a link to that match because I'm very proud of it. But we went to war. That's where I went, oh no, I can actually do this. I'm not a bad wrestler. And it just made me think of wrestling in such a different light of, it's more than just what moves are you going to do? It's what reactions and feelings do you want that crowd to feel?
All right.
And then we had our triple threat match with Jody, where the story we wanted to tell in that match was Jody belongs with the guys in that, and she looked like a monster in that match. Whenever Crossbody puts that match up, whoa, she held her own. I'll tell you that much. And then I just remembered when I had my actual first match with Josh. It's not so much worrying about this move. It's, hey, what's the rhythm of stuff? Because we had no time to talk about our match because we had other matches that night to worry about. So that's where I learned not to be so nervous and just go with the flow of stuff and don't worry about what's happened. Just care about what's happening, if that makes sense.
All right, cool. Yeah, I spoke with Josh a little earlier today. I thought it'd be cool to get a question from him for you. So, and he was happy to give me one, which was cool. So he's a good guy. Big fan of Josh Alexander. Glad he was okay after that Sammy Callahan hit with the garbage can that split him open.
I took him to the hospital. I was the one that drove him. That was a crazy night.
So what was he? Was he dazed? Or how was he okay when you took him to the hospital, or? What was
He was totally fine. Okay. If he didn't have a wife, he probably would have grabbed like super glue or something to shut it. But he's like, hey, I'll go to the hospital because everyone cares. But yeah, he wrestled literally like 4 times the next weekend, and just his head opened up every time. And one of those times was him at Alpha One Wrestling for King of the Hearts, where he went to war in all 3 of his matches, and that's on Powerbomb TV. Go watch it. I think you can use a promo code Alpha One. Look at their Twitter account to get that, and you get 20 days free.
Okay.
Just watch that match, and then watch Josh face Gregory Iron in the first round. Looked great. Faced JT Dunn in the second round. Hard fought match, and then Kobe Durst. Kobe Durst is a guy that I want to have a match with because I feel like we've had a couple, but our potential is so much stronger now, especially that I've matured in wrestling and into my character.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know Kirby. Kirby's a really, really talented wrestler. I know the King of the Hearts tournament. I wanted to see that because I fan of Kobe Durst, big fan of, Josh Alexander. So I know when they get together, they go to war with each other. I know they've had a number of matches. So I will definitely check that out for sure. So you said there's a promo code on Alpha One for 20 free days?
Yeah, if you go to, Alpha One's Twitter account and, you'll find it because they're really good at using their Twitter account and promoting stuff. Okay. So I think it's alpha-1 is their promo code. Okay. But go there and then go to Powerbomb TV. Enjoy 20 days. They have all their shows from this year. And depending on when this goes up, there's a live show that they just had, which involves PCO versus Ricky Shane Page versus Kobe Durst, which it hasn't happened yet while we recorded this. I think one of these people might die.
Well, hopefully nobody dies, man. Hopefully nobody dies. But yeah, this will be up next week, at some point. But before we go, anything you want to plug? Any social media? I know you have I think you have an upcoming match, Championship Wrestling from Ontario, October 28th against a mystery opponent. Anything you want to plug? Go right ahead, man. It's all yours.
Perfect. Yes, October 28th, I am at the Rock Pile in Etobicoke for Championship Wrestling from Ontario. I'm facing a mystery opponent. I don't know if that's a veteran or a rookie, or I don't know what's going to happen. And then in November, I have Alpha One in Oshawa. That match has been announced that I'm facing Gregory Irons. Super excited about that. And then Barry Wrestling Crossbody, I'm facing Justin Sane. And from the last match I had with Josh, he told me that I'm not getting a championship opportunity until I prove I can walk a mile in his footsteps. And that means having match of the night, going to war, being willing to die for pro wrestling. So I'm going to go to war with Justin Sane and whoever else is put in front of me. And then, yeah, my schedule is keep up with me on Twitter and Instagram at Holden Pro. If you look up Holden Albright on Facebook, you'll find stuff. Yeah, I'm excited about what the future is ahead for Holden Albright.
Man, any chance you're coming out to Windsor, Ontario, Border City Wrestling? Is that a possibility? I'd love to see you again live, man.
Do you cross the border at all from Michigan?
I can. No, Michigan is right. Yeah, I could cross the border, of course. Yeah. So you're out in Detroit? You wrestle in Detroit or Michigan?
I've wrestled around Detroit a few times before, and to be completely honest, it's more likely I'll be wrestling in Michigan than Windsor anytime soon.
Okay.
But you never know, and I'm the cockroach of Ontario indie wrestling. I'll pop up anywhere.
Right, there you go, man. Well, Holden, I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, man. I really enjoyed my time. I know I told you it was going to be about, maybe a half hour, but we're pushing on almost 50 minutes here. I had an absolute blast. Thank you so much for joining me today, man. Again, I was a fan of yours, but now after the show I've become a huge fan. So again, thank you so much for doing this today, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much for having me, Lewis.
Hey, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. So this has been the Pro Wrestling Personified podcast. Again, for the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. Again, I want to thank my guest, Holden Albright, for joining me today. And until next time, thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. And stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.